Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom, where we bring you engaging conversations and respectful disagreement across the social spectrum.
Injected with the quirks of everyday life.
Curl up as we navigate the complexities of this modern world with all the humor and warmth we can muster.
And the occasional gentle ribbing. We're glad you're here. Happy listening.
Hey. Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom. I am Callie. It is Saturday morning, September 21st. And I'm here with the other millennial and my mom. How are y'all?
Hanging in there today.
I'm good. I'm shocked that we're this far into September because it feels like it just went blue and it was almost
No
over.
kidding.
I agree.
The last time I looked, it was still July.
Yeah. I'm having trouble with still writing the month down. And I guess today must be the first official day of fall?
Really? That's exciting.
I think so.
I feel
Today
like
or tomorrow.
we've got to be getting close just because, I'm in Houston, right? And there are all of maybe 2.5 days a year that you can open your windows and doors and it not be miserable. And we're getting to that. We're almost there.
I love those days.
I know. Me too.
Yeah, tomorrow,
So
first day of fall.
I have
September
a
22nd.
sister in Phoenix, and I've gotten messages twice this week of, I get to sit on the video today.
Oh, I'm sure they're enjoying a little bit of reprieve. Oof.
Yeah.
Wish we could say the same thing. It was so nice. It's like to have the first part of last week, and now it's back to it was 92 at 9:30 when I got in my car this morning. It's hot again, and I'm just like, no.
My goodness gracious.
It's supposed to cool off again.
Man, here's hoping. So, okay, let's hop into things. We talked a minute ago about it being almost the end of September and how our time is absolutely flying by. Have you guys fallen down the rabbit hole of Amazon Prime Day coming up in October?
I have been fortunate. I have seen the ads for it, but I've kind of been taking a break from Amazon for the last couple of weeks.
Oh,
Just because I have everything I need. I don't need anything else. I got my setup. My rig is good. Every once in a while, I'll be like, oh, I need some new socks or something.
Sure.
But have this.
I think I'm picking up your slack.
I feel like
Well-
I've done really good lately.
I think it's your fault, Callie, that I'm picking up the slack because you're sending me things.
Only because you asked me to.
I know. Yeah. Okay.
So I just started thinking about this the other day, and we talk about America being a capitalist society and all of this, whatever, and what that really means, and the opportunities to buy from these different vendors or these different countries and all of this. And I just started thinking about how much we have grown even in the last 10 years. I'm trying to think. Amazon Prime Day launched in 2015. So we're at almost a decade of Amazon Prime Days. Does that not just blow your mind?
Yeah.
I was sure it had started just a couple of years ago, but nope, not the case. And I also feel like we have way, way, way more Prime Days now than we ever have before. I feel like used to be, that sounded really educated. I feel like it used to be that your one big spending day was Black Friday. That's what it is. Everybody, these are your deals to go get. This is capitalism, consumerism.
And we
at its
used to
finest.
really plan for that Black Friday. You had Turkey Day and tryptophan, and you slept that afternoon, but you were up early.
At 4 a.m. on Black
Yes.
Friday so that you could get somewhere to be
And you had a
200th in
plan?
line.
Yeah, you had a plan. We're going to go to, Walmart first, and
You researched
Best
the
Buy here,
newspapers, who had the best deals.
yes. We
Oh, yeah.
it I'm not going to say it was scientific, but it was definitely.
A plan.
I'm so glad it's not that anymore.
And now then, you couldn't talk me into going out on Black Friday.
Well, and I also feel like things have changed. It used to, I feel like when I was a kid, you could go get this $7,000 TV for $200. And you're like, yeah, I got a great deal. And now they're like, it's 10% off. And you're like, well, that's crap.
It'll be 10% off next week, too.
Exactly.
Well, And I don't want to fight that crowd.
Oh,
I mean,
God, no.
I'm not going to be that person if there's $7,000 TVs that's going to be standing in line fighting over one of those TVs.
Well, and I feel like it's gotten so dangerous now. I mean, you can't have a Black Friday where you don't see on the news of people getting trampled and hurt or guns pulled because I'm going to take the last one. And you're like, you're saving $7. You're going to lose, like, you're going to cost somebody their life over $7. Like, what in the world? But it's just kind of crazy. And I think
that's a podcast.
Oh, okay. I mean, you say that, but it's really funny. Cole called and we were chatting before, like on his way over. And he was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, we're watching a TV show about people committing crimes in the nude." And he was like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know, but we're getting ready to record the podcast, so we're just gonna let him do it. If he wants to watch nude people commit crimes and break into houses, like, cool."
I started to say, what kind of crimes do you commit in the nude?
I only saw one, but there were lots of clips. I mean, people running around naked on the street, breaking into stores. This episode promised to have a naked guy robbing a Pizza Hut.
PCP is a hell of a drug.
I mean, don't you remember those people in Florida back in like the mid 2000s, like early 2000, like 2008 or so, where they were on, what was that, Cole? It was like
bath
synthetic
salts,
marijuana.
and they were
bath salts.
eating people.
Yes. There were lots of them that were naked. But I digress. Sorry, I got distracted. That was my one focus. Like, Callie, stay focused. And I'm on to naked people and bath salts. But, I mean, at least there is a world in which naked people and bath salts is a good thing and relaxing. But how's not this world? So, I don't know. I don't know. Can I quit? Can I just call it? Like,
sometimes I don't want to claim them.
I know.
Oh,
I don't know. This is my biggest
this is
concern.
great.
Well, I mean,
that's my sister, guys.
Oh,
back on
God.
track. Advertising.
So, where was I even trying to go?
I'm sorry I asked that question.
I think that it probably had something to do with how the American mindset has just been changed so drastically by the media that we consume.
Yes. Yes, I think you're right. And, you know, we said something, Mom has a connector that she ordered off of Amazon that isn't working. And I was like, oh, what brand is it? Like I would know, because there are, even Cole said, 50 bajillion different sellers on Amazon who are selling you crap that maybe it works and maybe it doesn't. I mean, advertising as a whole has changed. Like, did you guys watch Mad Men? Everything was so specific. We're going to do an ad campaign about this specific cigarette and the lifestyle that somebody who smokes this type of cigarette holds, and why they're so fancy and important. And now there are so many products. We have such a plethora of producers making these things that you can't get on Amazon and find one product that doesn't have a knockoff immediately, that is using the exact same photos and the exact same information to sell the exact same product. And maybe it's the same price, maybe it's not. It's all over the place.
Well, yeah, because it comes out of the same factory. They just etch a different logo onto it.
Right. I will say, I was ordering, what was it? I contacted the seller on one of them. I was ordering like hanging fruit baskets for our pantry, like to put onions in and things like that. And can't remember. I'll have to go back and look. But they had, I mean, it was very obviously produced in China, so English is not their first language. Like, forgive them. And they have little signs on them where you can write to say onions and pickles, whatever it was. Not pickles, not in a basket. Sorry. I don't know. But they had something written on it, and it was like vagina. And I think they were trying to say Vidalias or something like that. And I was like, you guys need to know that this is not what you're intending it to be. And he's like, okay, we'll get with our marketing team and check into that and look into that. And I was like, But
Yeah, that's one that I really struggle with is if I'm going through and I'm looking at a product, specifically, particularly those on Amazon, if there are like grammatical errors in the description, I'm probably out.
yeah, I'm out. Although we have received several things like that have like cards, like thank you for purchasing our product cards. And Ryan and I always get a kick out of them. My favorite one was, it wasn't like enjoy your day, it was enjoy your life. Good luck with your life. That's what it was. Good luck with your life. And it was like I had bought thumbtacks, black thumbtacks, and it's printed on there. Good luck with your life. I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you for that. I needed that luck.
Thanks
Mom,
for your $1. Never want to see you again.
yeah. I also think that it's really interesting. Sorry, Mom, go ahead.
I didn't have anything. I'm laughing at y'all.
So let's get back on track here. Like I get getting a deal, but Mom has pointed out this to me the last couple of Prime days because I'm at a place in my life right now where like me and my buddies will text each other at the end of the day on whatever Prime Day is and be like, hey, did you find anything cool? And usually it's just like, there's like one little thing here, one little thing there. Every once in a while, like my computer I built mostly out of parts that I got on Prime Day. And I thought that like I'd been doing research for a while and the prices on them were pretty good. But Mom has a theory that they jack up the prices right before Prime Day and then discount them to what they were before. So that's really not that much of a savings, which is, I mean, honestly, probably not far from the truth. Callie, you and I had a teacher that we shared across several years that used to tell a story. Mr. Brim worked at Home Depot. He used to tell this story when he was working at Home Depot that like every time a holiday would come up, they would get stickers and put them on products all over the store that just say now, and then they would jack the price up and they would sell out of that item. It'd be like a grill that had been sitting there for 6 months. They were selling it for $200. And then a holiday would come around and they would slap a sticker on it that says now just $249, and they would sell all of them that weekend.
Oh yeah.
And like that's kind of crazy to me. That's not a deal, but there's this mentality of, I have to go and get a deal. Well, that's just because something says, it's 10% off doesn't actually mean you're getting a deal if you weren't aware of what the fair value of that item should be in the first place. You just say, I'm getting 10% off, and it makes you feel good, but it's a lie.
But is that not the same as you talking about going to the grocery store and you're willing to pay a little bit more if it's exactly what you want? If they feel that way and they feel like it's a good value for what it is, then who cares if it's a great deal, other than the fact that the retailer is lying, saying it's now greatly discounted, even though it's not.
Yeah, see that's my problem. Like, if the grill is worth $249, then whatever. But if the grill is only worth $200 and you're selling it for $250 because you slapped a sticker on it, that's kind of deceptive to me. Like,
right?
I don't think that should really be allowed, but it seems like something we're allowing. And I mean, we were talking about it earlier this week, and you kind of alluded to it earlier. This is the second Prime Days coming up next month this year? Like, why do we need 2 Prime Days? I mean,
did we do this already?
Well, yeah, you're right. You're right, Mom. It is about the money, but do they? That's kind of scary to me if just by them saying, it's Prime Day and you're getting these deals, and sometimes there are good deals on Prime Day, don't get me wrong, but do you really need to drive sales that much? You're not getting enough already?
Starting to say Amazon's not making a fortune.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like our mindset has been altered, augmented by all of the advertising. I was making dinner the other night and Dad was in there watching TV, and it was a different commercial for the same drug it was the same drug with 3 different commercials treating 3 different things. It was like irritable bowel syndrome and Crohn's disease, eczema, and something else. And
Ozempic.
Well, yeah, and it comes across, and at the end, and 3 times it goes over these, like, again, irritable bowel syndrome and symptoms of Crohn's disease and eczema, so excessively dry skin. But the the this advertisement, they're disclaiming, oh yeah, there's a risk of extreme allergic reactions and heart failure, and I'm like, I think I'll just be itchy and go to the bathroom a lot. Like, uh, but why do you need the same commercial? Why do you need 3 different commercials in a row for the same drug? You can't just cover everything in one commercial. But also, like, why is there so much advertising on, like, it should be, if you have a medication that is helping with these things, shouldn't you be going through doctors? Not,
That's why they say, ask your doctor about so-and-so and so-and-so.
no, it's just, you and I had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, Callie, about, like, I hate commercials. Like, I'll pay the $12 a month to have YouTube with no commercials. I can barely watch things on Amazon because they've added ads.
Yes, they have. And we're real
And
grumpy about it.
and I mean, it's just like, I'm already paying
Bougie.
you for this service. Maybe it is. Like, talk about first world problems, but
Yeah.
to me,
True.
like, the way advertising in America is right now, I think it's a problem.
It does seem to be designed to be as stupid as possible. And if you had intelligent ads, that would be one thing. But most of what you see, and maybe that's because the quantity is so much, but ads do seem to be geared to be dumb.
Cole and I talked about this earlier this week too. We were talking about Super Bowl ads and how much they've changed, and like so many of these commercials that are out now are just really like slapstick, weird, awkward,
Yes.
dumb humor.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't care how much you love Diet Dr. Pepper, a little bitty Dr. Pepper fairy, and oh God, what's that guy's name? All I can come up with James Gandolfini, and that's not it. It's the guy from American Idol, Justin Guarini, I think it's his name, something like that. And it's like this little miniature version of him, and he's like, and he like screams the whole, like sings everything, the whole commercial, and you're like, what is this going? What was that one here a few years ago that was like, monkey something baby, monkey something baby, monkey something baby? And I think it was a Doritos commercial or Mountain Dew, and you're like, what does this have? Maybe it was Taco Bell, but still, like, what does this have to do with any of these things? And it was just this on repeat. What was it? Monkey system baby, monkey system baby. I mean, like, I don't remember what it was, but it was just so ridiculous. And maybe I was really interested to hear that they were not appealing to Cole too, because I was like, okay, maybe I'm just too old for this, and that's not my style of humor. And
No, it's not
funny.
age.
I don't enjoy it. And
Puppy Monkey Baby. It
Puppy
was
Monkey
Mountain
Baby.
Dew.
Yes. But it was like the whole thing was Puppy Monkey Baby, Puppy Monkey Baby. And you're like, what does that mean?
It sounds like they're, to me, it seems like they're either designed to be so stupid or like to try and annoy you into submission.
I was going to say, do you
And
think that it's like an earworm? Like we're going to create an earworm specifically?
yeah, and like, to me, like, I won't buy your product if you have a commercial like that. I'm just like, no, I'm not supporting this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like the Geico commercials with the pig were atrocious to me.
Hanging out
But-
the window with the
Yeah,
pinwheel.
Yeah, and you're just like,
That's what he
why
does,
is
Mom.
this on TV? And it's just, but I know people who love them, who think they're hilarious, and that's fine, I guess. But
Are those
why
people that you trust? Are those people that you actually like? Are they real?
Here's what I was thinking. You know, I'm going to get in trouble here. I'm not sure men ever grow up. They're always 12 years old somewhere. You know, I look at your
True.
dad's humor sometimes and I think, okay, or men always like the Three Stooges, always. Where I just think that's the dumbest thing. So, is it an audience that they're looking for when you do these pig
I mean,
commercials?
I think it is to a point, but I don't think that it's quite as succinct as what we would like for it to be. Like we would like for it to be like, oh, it's funny for men, or oh, it's funny for this generation, or oh, it's funny for this subsect of people. And I think that it's weirder than that. Also, speaking of men not growing up, we definitely had to have a conversation this week, and this line came out of my mouth that I never thought I was going to have to say. Not every fart is funny.
Every fart is funny.
Not every fart is funny.
Every single one.
No.
Do
And
not
I'm not even
encourage
a
this.
fart joke guy, but like all farts in reality are hilarious.
I don't know, man. I don't know that I can get there with you. Like sometimes you can just say, oh, excuse me, and be done.
Sure, and that's like you don't have to laugh at every funny joke.
Right,
all
which was
farts
my
are
point.
funny.
Not all farts are funny. Not every
But
joke is worth laughing.
No, just because you don't laugh at a joke doesn't mean it's not funny, though.
Well, when you're sitting there and the farter is looking at you, waiting for you to bust out laughing like they're doing, it isn't funny to me.
Well, that's okay. But
Right, so stop looking at me waiting for me to laugh. I'm not going to laugh every time.
Oh, that doesn't mean he doesn't want you to laugh. Like I understand where you're coming from. It's still funny to him, and he wants it to be funny to you. Whether it is or not is irrelevant.
So is
12-year-old boy.
Is that codependence? Like he wants to laugh. He wants me to laugh with him about something that I don't think is funny. Oh,
I mean, maybe a little bit, yeah.
So let me ask you
dudes
this
just think
question.
farts are funny.
Would you, I'm going to change this subject.
shocker. Thank you.
Would you rather watch a stupid commercial on TV or see that same ad on Instagram or TikTok from your influencer 10 times?
Neither.
I feel like that's such an interesting question. Like my immediate reaction was I'd rather see it on Instagram or TikTok. I'm not a TikToker, but on Instagram because then I can scroll and move on. I don't have to sit there and wait for the 28 seconds remaining. But I will say this, and maybe my sense of trust is a false sense of trust or security, but I have certain influencers, with my air quotes, I have certain influencers that I trust more, and I'm like, oh, they've already done the research, they've already checked this out, they're not just shilling every single thing that is going to get them the most bucks. But there are certain ones that you'll flip through and you're like, okay, I've seen you guys talk about Tula face wash that half of you on not promo days say that you don't like and you have never gotten good use out of or never gotten good results from, and now here you are shilling it for 12% off, and you're like, come on guys, we get it. Or look at this Amazon coat, look at how cute this Amazon coat is, and then every single influencer is shilling the exact same coat, and you're like, you guys didn't get it all at the same time. You didn't just happen to. You're not in a group thread that you're sending, oh, hey, this one's great, you'll enjoy it too, and now you're all shilling the same thing. It just has a big markup or margin on it today.
It is collective brain rot in the attempt to participate in capitalism.
And it worked.
Well, there is such a trend right now moving to maximalism. That's literally what it's called. Oh, I'm a maximalist. Oh, I participate in maximalism because it's
what the heck is that?
Let me see
You
how
buy
much
everything.
shit I can fit into my house and on this. And there was one, you guys. It was like a miniature circular saw with a guard so that you can break down all of your cardboard boxes, all of your Amazon boxes, electrically. I was like, tear that shit, guys.
Yeah, you ever heard of a pocket knife? Like,
right. There are all of these things, and it must have been It must have had a good return on it that day, a good affiliate link on it that day, because it was on 16 different channels. This is a lifesaver. This is going to change your life. Everything is going to be better once you have this mini electric box breakdowner. And you're like,
Tell me the truth. Does Ryan have one?
no, because he doesn't get on Instagram. I'm not a fool. You don't have to laugh so much at him. He's working on that. He recently bought a book called Dopamine Addiction. He hasn't read it yet, but he bought it.
He's going to murder me.
Then he can buy a casket. He can buy an urn for any. I mean, like, he'll be so excited.
And I'm sure you can buy all of those off of Amazon.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
We have something in our notes over here that I think might be an interesting kind of talking point. Is that a lack of financial literacy, or is that an addiction to the dopamine of buying things?
Yes, all of the above.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we do not teach or maybe even reward financial literacy.
I would say it's not taught hardly at all.
You know,
No.
and I say this, even knowing how far out Callie is from college, but when she went to college was really the first time that she experienced a checking account.
Yeah.
And that's my fault. She should have had one. You both should have had one. You both should have had money that went into it. We should have been teaching you how to deal with your money. But, and Callie, forgive me for saying this, but you did go through a period and you've far exceeded this. So I'll say that up front. But you went through a period where you just didn't get that if it showed money in the online banking account, that even though you'd written check against that amount, that there was a problem there, that it might not.
I didn't know how to balance a checkbook that you needed
Girl
to.
math.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, and then you learned about that after some tears.
Oh, yeah.
And
I remember standing in the bank lobby calling you and calling Shauna saying, I've overdrafted my account. What do? I'm going to go to jail.
Yeah.
Because I didn't save my $4, and that's how much I overdrafted my account by. See, this is why you should save money.
So we should have taught you that. I mean,
well,
and that's my fault.
I don't think it's your fault alone.
Just to defend myself, I don't know that my parents taught me that either.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think it's something that as you become an adult, you just have to do so much. It just kind of becomes second nature, and you don't think about how important it is to be able to understand that. It's just something you kind of do on autopilot. Almost like driving. Obviously, you have to teach your kids how to drive, but when they're little, as you're driving, are you consciously trying to set an example as a driver and say, hey, you need to, when you hear the engine get to this level of RPMs is when you need to let off the gas, hit the clutch, change gears, and then reapply
We'll talk about the 8-year-old
pressure.
a little bit later, but yeah.
When you are driving around with an 8-year-old in your car, are you showing them, hey, this is how you change lanes? You need to look in your rear view, look at your side view, make sure that there is room to clear, apply your blinker, and then get over. Like, you're not thinking about that with an 8-year-old. Why would you be thinking about teaching them how to have a checking account and how to utilize debt?
Yeah.
When most people don't know how to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Not that most people know how to drive either, but it's not something that we're actively teaching our children as they grow up, which maybe we should be on both counts.
So I think that that's such an interesting analogy for this, because what are we teaching in those moments? So we know that children are going to mimic whatever it is that they see, right? We're teaching people, especially in today's day and age, that it's okay to get mad at the people around you and to yell at people in other cars that can't hear you. And it's okay to do all of these things. And it's okay to call them a tit because they're in your way or you're annoying you, whatever that may be. you're right, Cole. We're not teaching them to be decent, good human beings. And then we look back later, 10 years later, and you're like, oh crap, they're not a very good human. They don't know anything. Well,
Or a
yeah.
very good driver.
Or a very good driver. And we wonder why. And I think that responsibility falls on us as individuals, as parents and siblings and friends of human. Hey, wait a second. Don't act like that. Hey, there's no reason to be 6 feet away from that 18-wheeler's bumper doing 75 miles an hour down the highway. Like, that's unnecessary and really, really dangerous. We're not teaching people that.
So 2 things come to mind. One is that there is a trend now not to give your children chores and not to give your children allowance. And I disagree with both of those things because I think there's responsibility that you're teaching along the way. And so even though that's what the psychologist says,
do your job, get paid.
Yeah. Work for something. It means it matters.
And so I do think that we have an obligation, and Cole, I think you have to teach it at whatever level that kid is. You're going to teach an 8-year-old about money differently than you teach a 16-year-old about money.
Sure.
But if you don't teach that child, then you end up with that college kid who doesn't know how to deal with a checking account.
Right.
And
yeah, I kind of want to dig into that a little bit more because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm a little bit more on the fence here because I think it needs to be done carefully and intentionally and with a certain level of understanding. And like you're talking about, teaching to the level of the child, but I don't know that it can just be, hey, do your chores, you get an allowance. I think it may need to be a little bit more intentional than that. Because if I were going to have children, I don't know that I would want to have children that are just going to go get a job and work that job because it pays them if it's not a good job for them. Does it make sense to the point I'm kind of trying to make there? Is that it's not just work and get paid, it's do something important that has purpose and be rewarded for that.
Yeah, I get that and hear what you're saying, and I think that's the part that's kind of the missing puzzle piece to all of these things. Like, there are multiple paths to the same destination. Do the one that you're capable of doing, like managing. Like, we were out in Moab running trails. I cannot run the same trails that Ryan can run in the same vehicle. Like,
there's a component, Cole, and I hear what you're saying about getting a job just so any job that you can pay your bills, and sometimes you do have to do that. I mean,
sure.
Sometimes that's the responsible thing to do, and we would all like to have a job that we like to do and feel like we're contributing something. But I go back to the allowance part, and I think sometimes chores are just to teach that you are part of society. You're part of that family.
Contributing factor.
So you have an obligation to help that family run. And
certainly,
it's not, it may not be fun, and it may not, to contribute to what you're going to be when you grow up, but it is teaching that child that there are some things that are just obligations that need to be met, and you can choose how to meet those. And so I'm not sure I can totally go with you where it felt like you were going.
Maybe I can, as we're going through and talking about this, I completely agree with you that, it would be very important to teach children that, hey, there are things that have to get done. Taking out the trash is something that has to get done when the trash can is full, because there are consequences that are yucky if you don't do that. Yes, you should clean your room on occasion, at least. You should wipe down the stovetop so that it doesn't get so covered in grease or grimy, nasty things that it is A, gross, or B, dangerous to utilize. And so, I get that. But I also think that in doing so, and like you were talking about, teaching to the level of the child, that it's also important to teach them that, hey, you have to be able to grow so that they don't get stuck at the same dead-end job for forever. That there's, as you become competent in these things, you can begin to add responsibility. And as you add responsibility, there are greater benefits for doing that.
That's a great way to put it. I feel like a lot of people miss that whole concept and then are confused.
I want to ask you, when you say there are a lot of people who miss that, is that generational or is that across the demographic?
I think it's growing and becoming more rampant. And so I think that it is a change from one generation to the next and to the next and to the next. And so I just see it getting more and more amplified.
Yeah, I don't really know that it's a generational thing. I think it's just a kind of person to person, like how you were raised thing. Like you and Dad taught us that, hey, once you're competent at something, you can do a little bit more. And doing a little bit more will give you a greater reward. But like where I work, there are people who are you and Dad's age that have never advanced, that are just still at that very entry level. And yeah, every year they get a little pay raise, but they're not taking on any additional responsibility. Like, yeah, they've been doing it for 5 or 6 years. They're tenured at this point, but they haven't actually advanced. They haven't learned anything. They haven't taken on any additional responsibility. And so there's not really an added benefit. Like they're just kind of a worker bee who stays the exact same worker bee and never makes any progress. And I think that that's a really dull way to exist, because it's so
Or it
stagnant.
could be a decision that they made that this is where they're happy and they want to go home at 5 o'clock and not worry about the job and not, yeah. I mean, sometimes it is a personal decision that they've consciously made. And you and I would have trouble with that because we have a need to do a little bit more.
An inert desire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I also think that that's okay. Like, because it takes all kinds. Like I would be absolutely horrible as an employee if it was like, hey, Callie, go sit and put the square peg in the square hole every day, over and over and over again. Sit on this assembly line and we'll see how many you can knock out today. And that's the end of it.
I mean, Cole, you're in finance, but that's always been, in my perception, the worst thing that you could do is to be an accountant where you had to do the same thing every month all over again. I never wanted to be, and I always wanted something different to do.
See, that's really interesting because I was just thinking about this. As much as I complain about my job and would probably complain if I was an accountant, everybody's spending is different every month. The balance sheet is different. It's a new math problem every month. I think that would be enough for me to just go through and solve that. Even though I'm in the long run doing the same thing, it's just different enough because it's a new problem to solve. It's a new data set to enter. Like, I think that would, but that's just me. Like, I like doing math. I'm good at it. I had
You have enough variables though within that math equation to
keep it interesting.
Yeah,
for sure. And so it's a little bit different for everybody, and I think that this is probably kind of a difficult thing to teach with like chores and an allowance, but like it's important to, sometimes you have to get a job so that you can pay the bills. But I also think it's important to start teaching our kids that it's also important to be mindful that, hey, maybe this isn't a long-term solution. Maybe this is just a stopgap for the time being. But you have to be able to take on these responsibilities and receive the reward for them while also going out and trying to figure out what is going to give me purpose, what is going to breathe life into my career, my life, so that I can go and do that thing and enjoy it while I'm being rewarded for doing it.
Cole, I do think that's generational because my generation was not taught that. We were taught to get a job, to raise our families, to support our families, and
to get a job and stay in it.
Yeah, really. I mean, retire and get the gold watch.
Kind of sad.
Yeah. I think that for me, like looking back, I think that that's probably one of the, and we've talked about this, and so I certainly don't mean any ill will or ill feelings towards anybody, but I feel like that's probably one of the most detrimental things that we grew up seeing was our parents working in the same jobs for so long and sometimes being appreciated and sometimes being taken for granted, but building
I
that
would agree with that.
loyalty. And
Yeah.
I mean, like my first job out of college, I was there for 8 years and I felt guilty as sin leaving. And it wasn't a good fit for me anymore. And it made no sense
And
for
you
me to be
also had
working there.
you also had promised that you would only be there for 5 years.
I promised that I would be there for 1 year. And then I extended it to 5 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, you end up devaluing yourself in those moments. And so the financial trajectory of that changes when you,
Yes.
I mean, you're like Cole, you said, you've got these people who are mom and dad's age who are working the same entry level jobs. And yes, they get a little bitty pay bump every year, like maybe on a good year, like fine, great. But if they went somewhere else, they're going to value them in a different way. And so then maybe they get a couple of $1,000 instead of a couple of $100 a year, you know? And I think that especially given the fluctuation in inflation and in the value and the cost of living, I think that you've got to do something to stay relevant and to stay in today's actual situation rather than in the one that you entered 20 years ago.
I think it's one of the things that for my generation is really hard for us to deal with your generation. It's also one of the things that I really admire personally
because
with your
it's
generation.
scary. There's so much less security if you're finding a new job every 2 years.
Yes.
It can be really
You know, if I
scary.
looked at a
Sure.
resume that showed somebody moving every 2 years, I wouldn't be interested in that person.
Because they're not going to stay. You're going to invest all this time into training them and getting them up to speed for them to
Yeah.
leave.
The cost of getting an employee acclimated is higher than that 2 years. So I would struggle with that. And yet here's a whole generation of people who function that way. And so
have been really successful at it.
have been very successful at it.
And eventually get to a place where they do want to build a career because they found something that A, they're good at, and B, gives them purpose. And
Yes.
like I think I would like I really like I know I complain a lot because I deal with a lot of really dumb people sometimes. But like I actually really like my job.
Mhm.
Like I like what I do. I know that I am helping people in many circumstances. And so there's a level of purpose there that is also rewarding. Like when I get off of a phone call with somebody and I have a smile on my face, I'm like, hey, that was a really good phone call. I'm glad I got to help that person.
Yeah.
And like what I'm getting paid in that small moment, and maybe that's just like a little dopamine hit, but in that small moment, what I'm getting paid for is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
And that is really beneficial because I have been in jobs that paid fairly well, but was just completely miserable the entire time because A, I didn't know what I was doing, or I didn't have any level of support, or it wasn't rewarding. There wasn't any purpose to it. It was just go and turn a wrench until things work again. And that was just like the trying to learn the process there was interesting, but then you know the process and you tell them, hey, this is what it's supposed to do. And they're like, well, make it do this. And you're like, it's not built to do that. And they're like, too bad. You're just like, well, this is really dumb. So like this job kind of sucks. And then there's other monotonous jobs that are like, hey, I went and put plants on tables for a summer. Like that one was fun because I was working with my friends. We were teenagers and like that was cool, but the actual job sucked and the people that we were working for sucked. And we all left that job thinking, yeah, that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But like it's important to have those jobs to teach you like, hey, you have to go to work. You have to get up on time. You have to do these things. But I also think it's important to, I have a really big kind of thing. Like, I don't think a college degree is all that necessary. I would say that I'm fairly successful in what I do, and I don't have a college degree. And I think that's okay, but I also think it's really important to do something that gives you some level of purpose. I could not exist just going and like being a fry cook at McDonald's. And could I have done that for some time? Yeah, absolutely. But that would have been something that was like, hey, I'm just doing this to get by until I find the next step.
Right.
But what if that was your only option? I'm sitting here thinking, because again, I'm going to demographics. We have the flexibility,
The
all three
privilege.
of us, the
Mhm.
privilege
Mhm.
of choosing. But there are, particularly in today's America, there's a demographic that doesn't. They're just getting by. It's a paycheck to paycheck, sometimes not that much. And there's not a good education there. There's not a good background there. And being a fry cook is the best that they can do.
Do you
And
think that's true, that there are people who are only capable of being a fry cook? Or do you think everyone could apply themselves and better themselves?
I think it's harder for some people. I think that we block them sometimes from being better, that there are stigmas or biases that, or even confidence levels that they've not been taught are shown that do put them in those places.
Well, and on top of that, I also think that we have to take into consideration, like, maybe being a fry cook is what they love.
Yeah.
They love doing
Totally
this.
fair.
And I'm so thankful. And McDonald's has the very best French fries in fast food, in my personal opinion. But like, I think that we as a society have to do a better job of being reasonable with value and what that is and what that means, and being responsible. So sitting here talking about, well, he's a fry cook and that's just all he's ever going to amount to. He may be thrilled with that, but we don't need to be sitting here price gouging the crap out of him so that he can't make a living being a fry cook doing his dream job. Like, we need
Completely
to
agree.
have affordable rents and options for people who only make minimum wage, and for them to be able to live a successful life and be completely content being a fry cook. If that's what he wants and that's where he wants to max out his career, who am I to judge him? But I do
Sure.
think that it is our responsibility as a society to be reasonable. Can he go and afford a McMansion? Probably not. His McDonald's salary isn't going to pay for that. But we can set realistic expectations for our society and say, hey, this is what it is, and you can still get by and you can have a decent, good life with what you have. Working hard and doing what is great for you and what you're great at, and that's enough. And
So
letting it be enough.
let me ask you this though. If being a fry cook is his passion and that's what he loves to do, and he becomes the best fry cook at any McDonald's in the country, and because he is so good at it, his McDonald's fries are better than all of the other McDonald's fries, and that you can verify and see that for the sales of French fries from this McDonald's, he probably shouldn't be getting paid minimum wage.
True.
He should be able to charge a premium for his services because he is so good at that.
Or he should have a path to a 5-star restaurant with the best French fries.
But maybe he doesn't want that responsibility. Maybe he just wants to be the best damn fry cook that McDonald's has ever seen.
I think that the Undercover Boss does such a good job. That TV show does such a good job of showing people doing really, really good at what you and I might consider menial tasks, and how proud they are of that and rewarding them for that. It's okay that you're just a fry cook and that's enough for you. I'm going to appreciate and respect you for that. But they also have to have realistic expectations that this is the ceiling for what a fry cook makes. That's what it
Sure.
is. And if
But
that's enough for you, great. And if it's not, then you need to know that going into it.
you have to take on more responsibility. There's no
Correct.
way to advance from once you get to this level. There's nowhere else. There's no further up you can go.
Right.
And that's fine. If you don't want to go further up, if you don't want to assume more responsibility, completely up to you. And I'm 100% for that. And while you make a good point, Undercover Boss does a good job of doing that. Corporations in general do not.
Agreed, wholeheartedly. Which is why I go back to it being reasonable as a society. I think that, and that starts with me and my little ripple effect that I have in the people in my life. And it starts with each of you, and it starts with that fry cook being great and happy and great at his job and showing up on time and taking pride in the work that he does and being realistic with all of our expectations. Hey, you're the best fry cook we've ever had, and this is the ceiling. If you want more than that, you have to take on more responsibilities. But we can take and say, hey, this guy, Mike the fry cook, who's really great at it, we're going to turn him into a trainer for training new fry cooks so that they can do a great job. But Mike, in order for you to make more money and take on this responsibility, you've got to do a good job at this additional responsibility.
100%. I'm with that. The problem is that isn't what's happening.
Correct. I agree. And that makes me sad. And that's where I struggle. And that's where, going back to what we were talking about earlier with the influencers and Amazon and all of these things, it is not a best of the best society. It is a popularity contest. Oh, well, this is what's most popular and this is what I can make the most money off of today. So I'm going to go shill this. Not because I believe in it, not because I like it, not because I trust it, but because I can convince all of these people to go buy one and I benefit. We have got to become less selfish as a people.
Yeah, you're right. We do.
Saying I think that that's easy to do. I don't.
Sure.
Especially when we live in a society that respects consumerism. I mean, especially if we're moving towards, what did you call it? Maximalism?
I don't know that consumerism in and of itself is necessarily bad.
Agreed.
I think the way we feed consumerism is probably unhealthy.
I agree.
I'll go with that.
Like, it's okay to go out and you don't have to produce everything that you consume yourself. That would be extremely difficult and not societally beneficial. Personally beneficial, maybe, but societally beneficial, no. That's why we have had a barter system in the past, and now we basically still have a barter system. It just utilizes a stand-in that is cash. And I think that's okay to have. I think that's been, because I will never be as good at building a house as I am at adding numbers together. It's just not, that's not my specialty. And so being able to go and pay someone else to do that is beneficial for society as a whole, because now he gets to go and spend the money that I spent on him. He gets to pay me to do math for him.
Right.
And as long as we're both doing it to the best of our ability, that's all well and good. The problem is that there's so much right now, and it's so easy to just get by, that a lot of people aren't doing things to the best of their ability. And I think that's a real shame.
And I think that it is created broken trust between amongst us as individuals. I don't know if I can trust you, the work that you're doing, because I don't know how to do it. And I don't know if I can trust the cost that you gave me, because I don't know what it costs. And I don't know that I can trust any of these things. And so we end up siloing ourselves and being afraid of each other, instead of just saying, hey, walk me through this, be reasonable, be trustworthy, and I'm going to do the same thing back to you. And you may not get it immediately because you're not looking to go file your taxes today, but when you are, you let me know and I'll make sure that we're doing an awesome job for you.
Yeah. It goes back to another one of my life mantras: take care of people and people will take care of you. And that's just a good way to exist, because you always have something that you need help on.
Yes.
Say, hey, I'm struggling over here. You have a much better understanding of this. Can you help me here? It's like when I come to you for something on Photoshop, I'm like, hey, I don't know how to do this. I have a slightly different program. Can you walk me through the basics of what I can do? And you can say, yeah, I've tried this and this and this. and then I can do it after that, and that's great. But still, if it was like a big project, I would be like, hey, Callie, can you help me with this? 'Cause
Sure.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Sure. Absolutely. But I think that, again, we've developed a rapport and a trust among each other. You and I have that kind of automatically built in a little bit because we're siblings and we've known each other for however old you are. And I feel like we need to do a better job of developing that rapport with
However
other
old I
people.
am,
Well,
You yourself said this morning that you were old.
I'm just messing with you. I'm
okay,
31.
I know you're 31. I was just going to say, I know you're 31. I wasn't, hold on, man. I wasn't forgetting how old you are. You're 5 years younger than me. But I have to always do the math as to how old I am. And I wasn't willing to do the math, okay? Because not all of us are great at numbers, finance guy. Gosh.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
That
knew
was
that was
supposed
going to
to be
trip him.
gentle.
I mean, I didn't forget. I always have to do the math.
To build off what you were saying there, though, Gig, I think modern advertising has kind of been the antithesis of that, where it's not a level of trust or rapport. It is just a bombardment of buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, until you finally give in and you're like, all right, whatever. You've been screaming at me for the last 5 commercial breaks. Fine, I'll go look at it. Like,
Yeah.
shut up.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't shut up. Because, like, for me right now, it's crazy. I won't start getting ads for something until after I've already purchased it.
Yep.
And then I just get flooded with ads for that one thing. And I'm like, I already bought it, guys. So leave me alone. Show me something cool.
Did you know that there's at least, I don't know about TikTok. Like I said, I'm not a TikToker, but at least in like Facebook and I think Instagram, you can say, hey, this ad is not relevant to me. And they're going to say, why? And you say, because I've already purchased it. And then they won't show it to you anymore.
Yeah, but then I have to go through and interact with the ad.
When you're interacting
I'd
with
rather
the ad
just
anyway.
swipe by it.
So you would rather be annoyed than do something about it.
Oh, I do something about it. I just don't watch the ad. We've kind of hit all of our main topics. We've gone down a bit of a rabbit hole here, ladies.
Yeah,
I think it's
No.
probably fair for us to wrap this one. I think everybody understands what we're trying to get at. Hey, be mindful of how ads are altering your perception of things. I think that's really what we're trying to say. And do what makes you happy and don't overextend yourself.
And just because somebody else is doing it doesn't mean that you have to too. Do what works for you.
Yeah. In fact, most of the time, if you're seeing other people doing it, they're probably watching the dumb ads.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, are you ready for my 8-year-old story? You guys, I want to meet
I'm
this
ready.
kid.
Yeah. What's our weird thought this week?
Okay, weird thought this week is the story about the 8-year-old who borrowed her mom's, I think it was a RAV4, it was a little SUV, and drove it to Target in Ohio. And 13 miles, I believe it was, a 25-minute drive that she drives her mom's car to Target, apparently has a pocket full of money, like $400 worth, which is the other question. She's getting a good allowance.
Oh, yeah.
$400, drives herself to Target to go shopping. And the parents realize about 9 o'clock that she's gone, call the police, start looking for her and the car. The neighbors find on the ring that about 7 o'clock is when she got in the car and left. There is a guy that he's following her.
He's called 911.
Yeah, he's called, and he's talking about this erratic driver, and he finally gets to kind of pull up beside her and goes, "This looks like a kid." Somehow she parks at the Target and goes inside and does her shopping and buys herself a Frappuccino and before the police find her.
At Target, checking out, putting all of her stuff in self-checkout, putting it all in the bags.
She does admit to the police that she did hit a mailbox along the way. But I just want to meet this kid what 8-year-old decides to drive themselves to Target?
I mean, so the guy who calls it in, Cole, has a dash cam. And so he's literally taken video of it that has gone viral on the internet. She's not a great driver. She's doing all right. She makes it, but
She's
She's doing
8
pretty
years
good for an
old.
8-year-old.
she's doing great for an 8-year-old. So I was thinking about it earlier when we were talking about, like, what are you teaching your kids? I'm like, she obviously learned enough. But it just cracked me up. And Mom has been so adamant that she wants to meet this little girl. What would you do if we got to have her on the podcast, we interviewed her? What would you ask her?
Why she wanted to go to Target?
Mom, she's a woman. Of course she wants to go to Target.
I was going to say the same thing. Thanks, Gig.
I just want to meet this kid. I want to know what kind of personality an 8-year-old has who grabs the keys and the money and drives themselves to Target.
She's a go-getter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to say, this kid's got initiative.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to know her now, and I want to know her in 10 or 15 years.
Yeah. I mean, but nobody was hurt. Everybody's safe. The car's back home. They can't try her because they can't charge her because she's apparently too young for all of that. And so it's just like, apparently the police made a big kind of joke of it. And they're like, well, we let her finish her Frappuccino before we took her back home. I want to know what she bought.
That's wild.
Like, did she just go like hog wild on the toy aisle? Did she get some new forks because she doesn't like the way her mom's work? Like, what did she get?
Yeah, she's clothes shopping or shoe shopping or
I'm very curious.
buying candy.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, it says something about an 8-year-old who will buy a Frappuccino too.
Yeah, but can you imagine how long the husband is going to hold that over the mom's head? You taught our 8-year-old this?
Or to drive.
I mean, I think you're blaming the mom without basis. It might not be the mom's fault.
Maybe Dad's the Target connoisseur.
Yeah.
What did you say about 2 minutes ago?
Because she's a woman. Of course she wanted to go to Target.
That's what I thought.
But no, she was pretty cute. I'm glad that everybody's safe and it's all good. But God, it sure has made Mom laugh a lot this week. We've giggled quite a bit.
And if anybody knows her, I want to talk to her.
Yes.
I just want to talk to her.
Yeah. Have her contact us at 2 Millennials and Mom. We want to know. That's so
all right,
funny.
So that was supposed to be our weird thought. That sounded like kind of a good news story to me. 8-year-old drives like a maniac to Target, doesn't get arrested, has a good day, gets a Frappuccino. I'm a fan of that story. It's at least entertaining. But Callie, you were talking earlier for our real good news stories today. Tell me about this Things.I.Bought.And.Liked in Giving Tuesday, because I'm not up to speed on this one.
Okay, so Things.I.Bought.And.Liked is an Instagram account of a girl named Sarah. That's all we know. She never shows her face. She never talks. She lives in Houston. And she just posts about things that she bought and liked. There's no anybody giving her. She's not making anything from this. She has affiliate links, like if you buy something that she recommends, but she always is talking about like, hey, I saw this over on so-and-so. So she's giving the credit to them and they're getting the affiliate marketing links, and the traction from those. But it is, I would tell you, she's probably in some capacity a maximalist. She's constantly buying something. She does a good job. She is fun.
Yeah, she does a good job.
She knows that she's very, very funny and almost dry about lots of things. And so she knows that we're out here spending money on ourselves and that's just what it is. And so she does a deal that she calls Giving Tuesday, on the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, after Cyber Monday and everything. And the whole thing is getting brands and people to either donate to help or to actually help go on Amazon and clear Title I teachers' Amazon wish lists. And so
she's very organized now that she has a spreadsheet that you can access, and it It's all over the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And the teachers have gone in and said, I need these books because my kids don't have books, or I need Kleenexes, or even underwear
Tampons,
that these kids aren't
jackets.
getting.
Yeah.
And she's funny.
So,
I mean,
and
she's talking to Tito's. What is Tito's? Tequila? Vodka. She's talking to them, and I mean, she's kind of challenging the other vodkas. Hey, Tito's gave me this, and it's worth just following her that day to see the comments and the commentary and the response back. I don't know that you could even read that and not think that there's goodness in the world.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and she's funny about it, like Mom said. So there's a whole thing, especially on Instagram, about like the it item is the Stanley mug. And so she's calling out Stanley and Simple Modern and Yeti and all of these people. And she'll post her little picture of her holding her Stanley. And she'll be like, hey, Simple Modern, they are donating, Stanley's donating $5,000, but I will take a baseball bat, or I will run over my Stanley right now with my car if you guys will up the ante to 10,000. And they do.
That's super cool.
It's
It's really
much
cool
fun.
to watch.
And she is on it. She and her husband take off like for like those couple of days, and they bust their butts trying to get these brands. And I was going to look and see, I'm not sure if I'm going to be fast enough for the podcast. I mean, but how much did she raise last year, Mom? Do you remember?
Oh, it was over $1 million, wasn't it?
I think so.
Wow.
And it's just, I mean, and so all of these other influencers get in on it. And everybody, I mean, you're expecting it. She's done it now for 3 or 4 years in a row. I mean, she has highlights about it. If you should go see, they're on her 2023 one. But it is absolutely fantastic. So she put one out. Fister Faucets commented or sent her a message and said, hey, we're up for clearing these 10 lists and da-da-da-da-da. And she's like, well, what's the delta between you and the other guys? Is it that you don't leave kids out in the Kohler? You guys are setting the American standard on giving this week. Frankly, I'm impressed. And so she's calling out Delta Faucet, Kohler, Toto, American Standard, and Moen, like, and all of these, like, in really goofy, funny ways to get them. I mean, and she straight up says, okay, nice try, offer again. I know you slid the paper across the table to me with a number, and that wasn't good enough. So try again. You have one chance before I go and contact so-and-so.
There are times that she's really totally irreverent.
Oh, absolutely. It's fantastic.
That sounds great.
You'd love it. It's really fun. So you just need these couple of days a year if you don't want to get all of her face creams.
And the thing is, you could donate $20 or $20,000.
Oh, for sure.
And it wouldn't matter. It's the people who really need the help, and it's organized really well. I mean, she just does a really amazing job. She's really good.
She does a really good job. I mean, Cole, here's one where she's literally calling out Campbell's. If you want your product to stay up on that tea, let me know. It's going to cost you.
She does have a couple of brands that won't talk to her anymore.
Yes, Diet Coke
funny.
being one of them. Like, she's a Diet Coke girl. That's her unit of measurement when she's showing things like all year long. Like, this purse would hold 3 Diet Cokes. And
that's funny.
They wouldn't respond to her and they wouldn't donate money. And so she's like, fine, my loyalty, my measurements tool is up for grabs. I will completely sell out to whoever brings in as much money as they can.
I think extorting corporations for donations to our education system and teachers is fantastic. I support this 100%.
It's the coolest. And the brands get really into it too. And she shares all of the teachers, like, saying, oh my God, you guys have made my kids' year. I couldn't have done this without you. I am sitting here bawling because the Amazon truck just unloaded all of this stuff that I never imagined they would have access to. Like, thank you. I was trying to
It's really good. If you're looking for something charitable, something just to make you feel good,
Oh yeah.
that's the way to do it. And it's, I mean, it's one day a year, but it extends because she lets it go on, and
Oh, yeah.
then she's very cumulative about collecting and saying, this is what we raised together.
This is what we as a community did.
Yeah.
And
It's cool.
It's one of my favorite days of the year to go and
Yeah.
spend money on Amazon, to send to these teachers, and to give her Instagram fodder to go with these brands and really go up against them and be like, you got to do better than that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's so cool. So, yep, that was our good news story. It's coming up here for Giving Tuesday, is the Tuesday after Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Pay attention at Things.I.Bought.And.Liked with a period between each word. It's awesome. Thanks, Sarah, for doing that. It's so fun. But, okay, anything else we got to chat about today, guys?
I'm all good. I'm ready for some lunch.
Yep.
Love ya.
Bye, guys. Love you.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.